Welcome, welcome, and good afternoon, everyone. We're letting our folks join into our webinar this afternoon. So come on in and get settled, and we'll getting started here promptly. We know everyone has busy schedules this afternoon. So thank you for being here and thank you for joining us. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the second installment of our webinar series for 2026. My name is Sonia Bigelow Smith, and I serve as the director of the Capital Readiness Program. Let's see, if you have participated and or graduated from any of our prior programs, please put a 1 in the chat. And if you are new to our Capital Readiness Program, please say hello and tell us where you are dialing in from. We'd like to get you engaged early in this process. All right, I see a few people responding in the chat there. Hello, Valerie. Good to see you. One of our very, very engaged business owners, Shannon from Florida. Hello. So good to see that you're here as well. So without delay, let me share a little bit about what we do. And let me begin also by sharing our why for this session. The Capital Readiness Program is a 4-year initiative to improve access to capital outcomes for small business owners. We do that by funding capacity building incubators and accelerators that you can find on our landing page and available to everyone. We've helped to foster connectivity across our network so that we can help you find new contract opportunities. And we also offer informative webinars like the one we are hosting today. Since our inception, we have advised over 600 business owners, graduating over 300 from our programs. And besides our business owners telling us that they need, number one, grant guidance to secure capital, they also ask for marketing support. But many business owners who are already established are concerned about optimizing their operations and improving proper cash management of revenue. So we are addressing that concern today. And I have the pleasure of introducing our guest presenter, Dee Bout, revenue recovery specialist and author of Collect the Cash. Just a bit about her track record, because I want to know who's going to be sharing with you. Dee is known for recovering $6 million in 60 days. Let me repeat that, $6 million in 60 days for a small IT company using her framework that she'll share today called 4 Keys to Collect the Cash. She uses a relationship-driven approach to teach business owners that the sale is not complete until the money is in the bank. And I'm sure many established business owners understand that for sure. She's been featured in Forbes, Black Enterprise, and is here today to share some valuable knowledge with you. So Dee, please join me on camera. Welcome, welcome. How are you today? She's got to come
Hey,
off
Sonia.
mute.
Good afternoon to everybody. I'm doing well, and happy Thursday, everybody. Excuse me.
Very good. Well, I'm gonna turn the virtual stage over to you, but in a moment. But before I do, I just want to share with the audience to feel free, sit back, relax, and listen to the presentation. Here are a few logistics. This webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be shared with all registrants within 24 to 48 hours. As we move along this discussion, if you have a question, please place it in the Q&A box at the bottom, not the chat, so that our program coordinator, Claudia Barrera, can pose them at the end of the presentation. So Dee, the stage is set for you. So please expand on your experience and how you got into this and what do you want folks to take away from today?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, before I get into the presentation, let me start off with gratitude. Thank you to you, Sonia, Claudia, and the CRP group. It's a pleasure to be here. Most people ask that question. They're like, "What made you get into collecting outstanding invoices? it's kind of like the what had happened was, what's the story behind why you do this? Because most people do not wake up on a Thursday and go, I want to deal with outstanding invoices and contracts and issues and problems. But I will tell you that it has been the joy of my career and now to be able to be in service to business owners, because here's the thing. Nobody goes into business to not get paid.
Right.
Nobody starts a business without planning to get paid. Nobody services their customers or their clients without the expectation of getting paid. And when and if you've ever been ghosted, if you've had a client where you've done work for them, you submitted the invoice. So for those of you that work in the corporate space or the government space or nonprofit space, if you ever have done some work for them and you look up and you're like, my invoice was supposed to have come in on this date, payments haven't come in, I keep emailing, I keep calling, I keep getting ghosted. No, nobody answers my calls, nobody responds to me. There's a way in which I teach you how to do that, because you basically have to go from what had happened was to how do we win, and when you win, you get paid. But in order to win, you got to be a really good problem solver. And so
Very good.
that's one of the four keys of how you do what I do.
Well, I'm going to let you pull your presentation up
Okay.
so that you can begin stepping everyone, introducing yourself further, and stepping everyone through the presentation. And again, everyone, thank you for being here. We'll address your questions at the very end, and we're going to spotlight Dee and let her get her presentation going. Thanks a lot, Dee. We'll see you at the closer to the end of the presentation.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. All right, y'all. Well, good afternoon again, and welcome to Collect the Cash. So, listen, I know for many of you that are business owners, one of the things I want to say to you is this: no one expects to not get paid for their work. No one expects to not get paid for their services. No one expects to not get paid for their products or their services. But this happens in business, and one of the things that I want to do is to elevate your knowledge about why it's so important to make sure you track your invoices, make sure you stop letting unpaid invoices choke your cash flow. So let's begin. Excuse me. Why does cash flow matter? It matters more than you think. Here's the thing: if you're providing a product or a service and you have a contract, you have a deliverable, you do invoicing, and you don't get paid, you don't have the money to pay yourself, pay your contractors if you have them, plan for advertising, plan to expand your business in ways that matter. And so cash flow is that one part of business that most business owners don't talk about, because the focus is on get the sale, get the new contract, do all the work. But I say it this way, collect the cash. The sale is not complete until the money is actually in the bank. If you don't, the sale is the celebrated part. That's usually where they have the kickoff meetings, they have all the great things. But after you get the sale and after you do the work, you're like, oh, I got to get paid. And so in order to get paid, you have to submit your invoice and you have to get paid. And so this matters more than you think, because it's not just enough to land your client. It's not just enough to land the sale. You have to go through the sale, the contract, and all the things, including invoicing them and getting paid. So it matters more than you think. So I'm going to share some concepts that hopefully will make sense. And please, as while I'm talking and sharing this presentation, please put your questions in the chat and we will address them at the end. So one of the things that happens a lot is that unpaid invoices pile up. And I'm going to, in a few slides, I'm going to expound on Sonia's comment about the fact that I collected $6 million. I'll tell you all that whole story will tie everything that you're going to learn from me today. So there are four things I want to share. Number one, what happens when you let an unpaid invoice pile up? It creates a cash flow crisis. Unpaid invoices definitely choke your cash flow. It make it harder for you to cover expenses and invest in growth and plan to expand your business. The second thing it does, and my story will highlight this more, it can damage relationships. If you don't do the follow-ups and if you don't feel confident having the conversations to get your cash, this can damage your internal relationships with your team and obviously your external ones with your client. The third thing, which is why I'm really here, is I don't want to see another small business go out of business. Like I said, in a couple of slides, I'm going to share with you my story about what was the origin of Collect the Cash, what was the origin of me creating this talk, and the origin of why I do what I do to teach business owners, particularly small ones, not to go out of business. I've seen it happen a lot. And one of the things that concerns me is that no one really talks to you about your payments, your cash flow, your invoices, and how to address this and how to not be afraid of actually asking for your payments, especially if you have a contract and you've done the work, you have proof, and there are no issues or no concerns from your client. So that's a part of why I do what I do. And then the last thing is this. Excuse me. Let me get some water. Pardon me 1 second. Operational bottlenecks are are one of the things that are really challenging in business because when you have to stop going after new business because you have to go back and chase old clients and old payments, that's a bottleneck. You should not have to be doing that because the goal is that when you if you've done the work to vet your client, submit your proposal, win the work, do the work, the last thing you want to have to do is stop chasing, I'm sorry, stop doing the work because you've got to go back and follow up with a client and say, okay, we did the work, we submitted a thing, what's the disconnect of why we haven't gotten paid? And so one of the things I want you to walk away with is that these four things impact unpaid invoices, but more importantly, if you don't have a tracking system in place that shows you where you're standing with your invoices and your scheduled payments, that's a bigger bottleneck, and that will be something that can definitely impact your cash flow. And so one of the goals is that when you learn how to track your payments, learn to get comfortable with, I say it this way, as confident as you were to ask for the sale, as you were to submit your RFP or your proposal, you have to be just as confident to ask for the cash because the sale is on the front end, but the cash is on the back end, and the two of them go together. I breathe because this one right here is I have personally lived through and worked with companies that have had unpaid invoices that disrupted operations and hindered growth, and I've eventually seen them go out of business. And I'm gonna certainly tell you that story. I firmly believe it's not a money problem, it's a systems problem. Sorry, let me pull this to the side so I can say, because here's the thing, no one ever tells you about, no one ever talks to you about like what systems do you need to have. You need to have to absolutely have a tracking system, and the tracking system is so you can basically see how many customers you have, the amount of money per contract, the product or services that they bought from you, when you're supposed to invoice them and when you're supposed to get paid. And if you're not tracking what's going on, it's very easy to let things just slide because here's the thing: you're focusing on the business, the clients, the services, all the things. Nobody wants to have to deal with the back office of things, but that's the lane that I live in. Because without the back office being set up properly and without having systems in place, you can very easily think that your cash flow is good because, of course, on paper it looks fantastic. But if I say it this way, collect the cash, the sale is not complete until the money is actually in the bank. And if you don't have a way to follow up to make sure you're getting paid on a regular basis, you can assume that everything is great. And then you look up and you're like, oh, I went to the bank, I needed to make these payments, and my cash flow is short because I didn't follow up, I didn't ask the right questions, and I didn't make sure that if there were issues with my invoice, I never followed up with my client to fix those things, and I didn't confirm that the payments were actually received. I just said this, but it's worth repeating. There absolutely needs to be a paradigm shift. I firmly believe that as confident as you were to ask for the sale, as confident as you were to submit your proposal, you have to be just as confident to ask for the cash. Now, a lot of people say to me, D, why do you say that? Well, I know that asking for money sometimes for some people, it makes them uncomfortable. But the thing is, you're in business to do two things: to provide a great product and a great service, and you're also in business to get paid. And if the struggle is you're not confident in asking for this money, then you're going to constantly struggle with every time a client doesn't pay you. You'll just let it slide. Oh, they're good for it. Oh, I don't really want to bother them. Oh, dot 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 dot. You'll keep having excuses. And what I want to do with the paradigm shift is to challenge you to not have excuses, but to be diligent in that I got the sale, but I also need to make sure I get paid. So give me 1 second. Let me fix this slide so y'all can see me. Okay. So here's some things that I know for sure. Some businesses do, and some businesses don't have these things. A lot of businesses don't have plans. When I say plans, I'm talking about plans of how to collect their outstanding invoices. Now, please understand, this is a general conversation. Some of you or all of you that are on this call, you may already have plans in place, and so this doesn't impact you because you're like, D, I have my system, I got my tracking, I know when I'm getting paid, I'm great. But for those of you that may be newer in business, you're like, I never thought about it. I needed a plan. I never thought about I needed tools. I really didn't think about needing a process, and I didn't even know that I needed to have a clear next step. Well, that's why we're doing this today, is because this is the part of business that doesn't get talked about a lot, because there's an assumption that because you've created your business, you've gone through, say, this program or something similar, that they've covered everything you need to know, from the sale, the contract, accounts payable, accounts receivable, systems, all the things. But what I've been seeing and doing doing these presentations, this is the part of business that gets neglected, because it's assumed that you're automatically not going to have any issues. You're automatically going to get paid. You're automatically, it's just going to flow consistently, and that's not always true. And so it's kudos to Sonia and CRP, who care enough that you get the additional information you need so that you can be successful not only today but also in the future. Now, as Sonia mentioned in the beginning of the conversation, I have something called the Collect to Cash proprietary system. I created this over 10 years ago, and it's four things. I believe in having a tracking system. I believe you have to be a really good problem solver. I usually say it this way. I usually say, the problem solving is equal to asking the question of what had happened was, because there's usually, when you haven't been paid from a client, whether it's corporate or government or nonprofit, there's usually your story. There's something or some things in the process that broke down, and you have to be able to ask the right questions so you can figure out, what happened. And we want to go from what had happened was to how do we win, and when you win, you get paid. But the type of questions you're asking is to figure out, was an invoice not prepared properly? Is there an issue that we weren't made aware of? Did we make a mistake? Did we forget to submit some additional information to the invoice when it was submitted? Whatever the story is, that's what problem solving does. When you have your list of questions, you learn how to ask those questions correctly. You figure out, okay. And also, once you ask those questions and once you get the information, I'm old school. I firmly believe you need to write it down, take some notes, do a screenshot, do a recording, do something, because the goal is to, when somebody helps you solve your problem so you can get paid, one, there's an opportunity for you to learn from what you did wrong to improve it. And then number two, make an example so that you don't let this happen to you again. Follow up. We all have heard the saying, the fortune is in the follow up. It's actually really true. The fortune really is in the follow up. But if you don't do the follow up, you don't get the fortune. And the last thing is resolution. I believe, and I am a solutions based approach in how I do what I do. When people hear a lot of people hear about B2B collections, they think about somebody that's usually aggressive. They don't care about the relationship. They're just after getting the money. I believe that if you approach your outstanding invoices and collecting it from, how can we collect it? How can we resolve this issue? How can we solve this problem? How can we figure out, what happened that we missed some steps, and then how do we course correct this so we can go from, like I say, what had happened was to how do we win? When you win, you get paid. It's a mindset shift that you go from, okay, so I'm not going to be aggressive with trying to get my money. No, you want to go from the approach of solutions, because I don't believe that your clients are not paying you because they don't want to. There's usually a hiccup that nobody has actually taken the time to sit down with them and ask them, okay, may I say it this way? What did we do wrong? One. Number two, what could we have done better? And then number three, how do we get to collaborate to fix this so that we don't keep making the same mistake again? I definitely believe that invoice recovery shouldn't give you anxiety. I picked a picture of this gentleman smiling because, listen, I want you all to be happy to go get your money. I don't want you to be stressing about having to get paid, but I also want to give you the tools and the insights so that if you do have to have a conversation, you know how to have the conversation with confidence, and you should be able to get your money. And I want you to be smiling like this guy. I want you to be like, oh yeah, no, I know exactly what to do. I'm confident in the fact that I delivered my product, my service correctly. I submitted my invoice correctly. I know what to say. I know how to say it. And you can do it in such a way that it doesn't cause you anxiety. And even if it does cause you anxiety, you can still learn from the lesson. You can still get better for the next time you have to address the issue. Now, excuse me one second. Okay, this is one of my favorite parts of the entire presentation. I love talking about tracking systems for invoices. So let me ask a question. How many of you have a, I know I'll say it this way. How many of you are team iPhone and team Android? Do me a favor, put it in the chat. The reason I ask you about your cell phone because I'm going to teach you how to track your invoices by how you bought your cell phone. So this is a case where I'll share a story right now. When you bought your cell phone, it kind of usually when you buy your cell phone, or if you have an issue with your cell phone, it kind of goes like this. Oh my gosh, I looked at my phone. Oh man, this button isn't working. So I gotta go to the cell phone store and see if I can get it solved. So you come into the store. Welcome to said store. What brings you in today? Oh my gosh, my phone has not been working. I've got this button that's not working. Dot dot dot. Now, and they'll usually ask you this. They'll say, "Hey, welcome in. Before we can start to address your issue, can we confirm that you're a customer with said phone company?" They'll ask you for your driver's license. They scan the barcode, and the information comes up, and they confirm your name, your address, your account number, all the things, and then they'll usually say something really kind of subtle. Did you know you're eligible for an upgrade? You're like, I didn't come in here to buy a new phone. I just want you to help me solve my problem because I got to get out of here. I got things to do. So they'll usually, after they do all the assessment, they'll say, you're eligible for an upgrade. And you're like, really don't want to be trying to buy a new phone today. I really just want to get my phone fixed. I want to get up out of here. So while they're telling you it's going to take a few minutes to check their phone, they'll usually tell you, take a walk around the store, see all the new phones, iPhone this, whether it's 16, 17, whatever the number is, and Samsung, whatever it is. And you're like, ooh, because usually after you take a walk around around the store, you're like, you start thinking, my phone is a couple of years old. Didn't know that this new phone had this gadget, this gadget, this gadget, etc. And then you'll come back to the desk after they, service your phone. And you'll say, "Well, can we talk about that upgrade? And how much will it be if I go from the old phone to the new phone?" Okay, so here's the tracking system, y'all. They do a sale. Then you make a decision that you want the new phone. So they put you into a new contract. Then they do something called order entry. If you decide you want the new phone, they're going to go in the back and get the new phone. They're going to enter all the information into your account. And so you have a contract, a sale, contract, order entry, order fulfillment. They confirm that this is the new phone on this account. So it's a sale, contract, order entry, order fulfillment. Then the best part, they're going to say to you, when do you want your bill? Accounts payable, because the phone company bills you every single month. And you'll say, oh, I pay my bills on whatever date. So they do a sale, contract, order entry, order fulfillment, accounts payable. They bill you because you tell them, I would like to receive my bill on this date. Accounts receivable, aka collect the cash. There's someone in the phone in every phone company like me that is collecting payments every single day. So we went sale, contract, order entry, order fulfillment, accounts payable, accounts receivable, and then they'll say, before we can wrap all this up, they'll have you sign the new contract for your new phone, and then you're going to walk over to the register and they're going to ask you this question: how would you like to pay for that today? Debit, credit, or cash? And then these two magical words come up: transaction approved. What I just described to you is how you bought your cell phone. That's a tracking system. So let me put it into terms that make sense as a business owner. You will have your tracking system, and your business will be name of your customer, the contract number, the dollar amount, the item or the service that they bought from you, invoicing, when are you supposed to bill your client, your deliverable, when are you supposed to get paid, and a section called notes. So I'll say it again. It's the contract number, name of your customer, then it's a contract number, the dollar amount of your contract, the item or service they bought from you, when do you submit your invoice and your deliverable to your customer, when do you are supposed to get paid, and a section called notes. I don't know how many of y'all have great memories. I struggle sometimes with that, so I'm being funny. But seriously, I have the section called notes because I want to make sure that for every customer that I interact with, if I have a discussion, if we have an issue, if something is wrong with my invoice, I want to make sure that I'm tracking it in my notes system so that I remember I talked to this person on this date. This was an invoice that was a concern. We said we're going to resolve it, and we did all these things. So I do that way. So the cell phone is a tracking system, and let me make this point clear. Every phone company does the way I described this. That's how they sold you your phone, that they track you and they know when the payments are coming in and when the payments are due. And here's the thing: if you keep using the phone company services and don't pay for it, they have this magical button. The number you have reached has been temporarily disconnected, because you're not going to keep using the cell phone and not pay them for the services. So I use that as a little bit of humor, but seriously, that's a tracking system for how you bought your cell phone. But the second part of what I described is also how you track your contracts and your payments. And don't forget to have the section called notes. Now, it's a little bit about me. I've been doing this work for over 10 years. I'm really passionate about teaching business owners to track the invoices against their sales. Excuse me. And I know the power of tracking payments, and I also know the impact of what it can have on a small business owner and how it can impact their cash flow. Excuse me. Sonia mentioned some of my highlights. These are some of the government agencies I've supported, and this is some of my media mentions. So to let you know that I've been doing this work for a while. I love what I do. It's a lot of fun for me, and I'm excited to get to teach you all how to do this better. Now, this is why I'm really here, y'all. This part right here, this is my story. So what had happened was about 20 years ago, I used to work for a small IT company outside of Boston, where I'm from. I don't know if anybody in the audience has or does currently work in IT, but basically, I went to work for a small IT company. They had about 100 people, and when I got hired, they said, "D, we have $8 million in outstanding invoices." This is a true story. This is the catalyst of how Collect the Cash got birthed. I said, "Y'all have how much?" They said they have, yeah, $8 million in outstanding invoices. Now, please understand, when I got hired, I was a part-time collector. I worked Monday through Friday, 4 to 8. They also had senior people and all the things. And my first question was, so y'all got senior people and y'all can't collect $8 million? They're like, nope. Your resume says you know how to collect this money. So we brought you on here because we need to collect this money. So I'm sitting here going, my first question, what had happened was, because I'm like, how do you sell $8 million worth of IT services, computers, software licenses, all the things, and you don't collect this money? And so I don't remember all the things that happened, but I just know that when I got hired, they gave me my cubicle and they gave me my list of accounts, and they're like, we need to collect this money. So I'm a person of faith, so I did my quick talk with God, and then I wrote down my four keys, which is problem solving, customer service, express gratitude, and build relationships. And I went to work. So in 60 days, I collect $6 million while working part-time. $6 million, y'all, in 60 days while working as a part-time collector. I only worked Monday through Friday, 4 to 8. The reason I'm so passionate about this and why I pause from time to time is because it still gets me emotional, because after going to work and collecting this money, the CEO says, come downstairs, we're going to have a chat. Now, for those of you that may have worked in sales, you know, usually salespeople get commissions. People like me in collections and AR, we get a bonus. So I'm thinking me and my team are about to get this great bonus for the work that we did. We come downstairs and they say, we made an executive decision. We're closing the company today, and we're letting 100 people go 2 months before the holiday season. As you can imagine, I was and still feel that, because that was a small business that had other people's lives that came to work to support this mission, do all the things, including me. And so when they let us go, I was like, I collected $6 million. I problem solved. I did all the things I knew how to do, and they still went out of business. Now, I'll say this right here. I will never know, even if we had collected all the extra money and done all things, I don't know if that would have saved the business. But what I do know is that the fact that they let $8 million go uncollected was the catalyst for me to say, I have got to find a way to talk to business owners about why it's so important to track your payments and stay on top of your cash. So once I recovered and I went back and did my career, the second part of this story is that what really brought Collect the Cash to life was COVID. I happen to like theater. So when Broadway shut down, I was looking at every theater house that closed and all the contracts with obviously the actors, the vendors, the tchotchkes, all the things. And those shows that were scheduled to happen that didn't happen, which means its cash flow didn't come in, which means people didn't get paid. And I'm thinking, nobody's talking about this. Nobody's having any kind of conversations about this. And so the reason y'all get to see me today is that my book coach heard me tell this $6 million story, and she says, "D, I'm a small business owner. I don't have a tracking system. I don't have a system at all." She goes, "I don't even know what I'm supposed to do if I get ghosted, if I sell a thing and I do a thing, and I don't know how to respond to this." So she said, "D, can you teach me and teach others how to do this the way you do it, which is more solutions based and relationship based as opposed to what we think of when we hear collections." Now, I don't remember if y'all remember Double Dutch. Well, we played double dutch. Let me tell y'all, I could never swing. I don't know how many of y'all you were really good at double dutch. Y'all could swing, y'all could jump. I couldn't do none of that. I could not swing, I couldn't jump. So she and I, we played double dutch, and she finally won. But she also helped me to see that my story, my approach, and my success was worth creating a system to teach small business owners, small and medium sized business owners, how to collect their cash and also go from, what had happened was to how do we win, and when we win, we get paid. So my story, like I said, every unpaid invoice has a story. So even collecting the $6 million, I still had to get to the story behind why all the companies didn't pay and find out, what was the disconnect. Was, for example, one of the companies that I went to collect the money from, they changed their billing system. So when I mentioned, I said one of my keys is problem solving. So I'm calling him and I'm asking him, so what's the story behind why you haven't paid? They said, oh, changed our billing system. Okay, when did you notify everybody? Oh, we sent out an email a couple of months ago. And I said, I'm pretty sure we didn't receive it. And so I asked them, I said, so if you could resend me that email, I need to take a copy of it to my comptroller and explain to her that if we reformat these invoices from the old system into their new system and upload it, we can collect 2 million of the $6 million. And she asked me the question, well, how did you solve that? I said, I just asked a question and I started, problem solving and trying to figure out what happened. But my point of this is that every unpaid invoice has a story. So as I told you my $6 million story, I collected that money, but I also learned that every unpaid invoice has a story. You have to be a really good problem solver. You have to ask good questions, and you have to be willing to, what I say, get into the weeds so you can get to resolution. One of my last points is this: problem solving is this. This is a step that most business owners skip. I've said it again a couple of times, but it bears repeating. Every unpaid invoice has a story. In order to get paid, you have to figure out what's the story. If you deal in corporate contracts or in government contracts, you got to make sure your invoice was prepared properly and submitted correctly, whether it's to the portal or to a person. You gotta follow the steps. You have to be really good at follow-up. You got to make sure you're documenting your calls, your emails, your checks. And like I said earlier, when I described the tracking system, use a section called notes. And then, is there an issue that hasn't been resolved? You have to go from what had happened was to how do we win. The winning is that you get paid, but you also learn to solve the problem and do your best to not repeat it again. Then I'll leave you with this question: do you dread the thought of recovering revenue? I don't want you to. I want you to be like that picture of the gentleman that was smiling earlier. I want you to be like that and be confident that, as confident as you were to ask for the sale or ask for the business, you're just as confident to ask for the money. When companies work with me, they usually bring me in because sometimes there's contract confusion. Sometimes there's been invoices and payments that have been missed. Sometimes there's documentation. And oftentimes there's communication gaps with their clients. And they're like, okay, D, I don't know how to have this conversation. And that's when we work together to figure out, what's the story, and then who are the players and who do we have to talk to so we can get this fixed. What's next? Well, here's the bonus. You don't have to do this alone. Right now, your CRP membership is providing you a complimentary 30-minute call with me for you and your team now and for the next 90 days. If you have outstanding invoices and have questions and want to learn how to do this better, this is something they're offering because they want to make sure that you are successful and obviously staying in business and improving your cash flow. I would like to say thank you for listening to me and to me telling my story about Collect the Cash. If this has resonated with you, please let me know in the chat. Number two, you can scan the QR code, or I'll say this in advance. I think there's been a disconnect with my calendar, so I apologize in advance. But what you can do is find me on LinkedIn and just reach out and say, "Hey D, I was on the CRP webinar, and I'd like to book a call with you. I've got some questions, and one, you're hilarious, and two, we definitely want to go from what had happened was to how do we win. And when we win, we get paid. Thank you all very much."
Thank you so much, Dee. What a wealth of information. There's also this other saying that says the proof is in the pudding. And I think you sharing your $6 million story and what had happened was a clear indicator of the challenges that many small businesses experience. And
Mhm.
what we're realizing in the capital readiness program and all the business owners that have come through our doors is that cash flow continues to be a problem.
Yeah, for
It's a
sure.
problem when there's a disconnect with contracts, not getting contracts that they need, and it could be an internal optimization problem in terms of securing the capital or the cash that is owed to you from
Hmm.
selling the, products and services. So I certainly do appreciate this conversation. I'm going to come back in a second. Thank you for that presentation. We're going to get to some questions. And we've got an extended bonus. So, she said a 30-minute consult, but we're partnering with D for a reason. We want to help more of you win. So stay tuned. Let me turn it over to Claudia to see if we have any questions in the Q&A. Again, just put your question in there so that helps us to keep track versus doing it in the chat that keeps scrolling. So please put any questions. Claudia, I'll turn it over to you and I'll be back in a few moments and we'll close the call.
Yes, we have a question. What are the top three internal processes we should have in place for collections?
Great question. Well, one of them, if you listen to me, how I said you need to have a tracking system. So I believe there's that. Second thing is that you need to have your business checking account was the second thing, and then the last thing is that what I actually have a gift for everybody. Actually, my gift is called the 5 tips to collect the cash, and it actually gives you the five additional things that, in addition to the tracking system that I talked about, that you can have, and actually that will be a free gift. So it's you can go to collectthecash.biz/freebie. That's collectthecash.biz/freebie. When you go there, it'll have the screen will come up and it'll say 5 tips to collect the cash. And actually, I walk you through the 5 things you need because I don't remember them off the top of my head. But that's a free gift, you can download it and it'll walk you through 5 things you need for your systems to make sure you can collect your cash.
We have another question. What are the three considerations before involving outside resources for collecting revenue?
Okay. Say it one more time, please.
What are the three considerations before involving outside resources for collecting revenue?
Okay.
Attorney or collections agency?
Okay. 3 resources. Number one, have first of all, well, my first thing is have you done everything especially if you have a contract, have you done everything that the contract outlines? So, for example, in the invoicing section, did you prepare the invoice properly? Were your deliverables done on time? If you're in the government space or the contracting, I'm sorry, corporate space or government space, were there any issues that were brought up that you either didn't address or you didn't understand, and did you go back and ask them for clarification first? Because I don't teach or talk from going to an attorney or collections, because that's not my thing. My thing has always been the way I've described it here. The reason I've been able to recover the money I've done is because number one, I'm always solving the problem. Number two, I'm looking to figure out how do we course correct I'll say it this way, how do we course correct what was missed? And then if we can't, then that's another thing. But I think in order to address going to legal, I would think you would have to have if you're going to go to legal, I'm sure that they're probably going to ask you, do you have a copy of your contract? Do you have a copy of all your emails? Do you have a copy of all the invoices? Do you have a copy of all the correspondence? They're going to probably want to gather all the information, and then they're going to have to make a determination. That's not my lane. My lane is to teach you what to do before you have to go there. I hope that makes sense.
I don't see any other questions in the Q&A.
Okay.
Thank you, Claudia. Dee, we've got a few more minutes and we will let folks go here in a second. But Dee,
Sure.
let me ask you, what are some of the common, I mean, you've described the four tips, but are there any frequently asked questions that you get from business owners that, that may be helpful um, for this conversation?
Sure. One of the one of the first questions they always ask me is, D, what do I do if I don't feel comfortable going back to my client? And I say to them, well, you have to, first of all, we got to figure out why aren't you comfortable? That's one of the, because I ask them why are you not comfortable? And they're like, well, I work with this client, I just got the first contract. I don't I don't want to muddy the waters. I don't want to, and I'm like, you're not muddying the waters. Your mindset has to be that you're in business and that you have a contract with them. They hired you because you offered a solution or a problem to whatever they need, and they're expecting you to deliver it. And they're like, yeah, but I don't want to have to. I said, I understand that, but you have to be as my slide said, as confident as you were to ask for the sale, you got to be just as confident to ask for the money. And you have to realize that your sale is not complete until you actually get paid. It's not the fact that you got the contract. You got to do all the work and still get paid. So I tell them that you can't be stuck in fear. You can't be stuck in fear.
Yeah.
You just can't. That's the first thing. Second thing, I think someone asked me earlier about, what are the systems? There are so many systems. I'm old school. I use the cell phone story as a tracking system because that's the thing that most people, everybody has a cell phone. You can relate to that. And I gave you the titles you can use. Now, your systems are various. You may need an accounting system. So I'm not an accountant. So I mean, you'd have to defer to the people that specialize in this. But I'm sure, your accounting system, whether it's QuickBooks or others. Billing, same thing. I'll say this. I mean, number one is to make sure that one thing that's really important, whether you're in collections or not, is to make sure your business is set up legally. So you're talking about articles of incorporation. Do you have a business checking account? One of the things I talk is really important is to not commingle your personal funds with your business funds, keeping things separate. Third is to have your tax ID number. I'm sure Claudia and the team probably talked to you about, the proper structure for your business. Do you have a CPA? Do you have a bookkeeper? Do you have an attorney? I mean, these are things that outside of what I do, but there are things that just matter. I think another things in terms of systems is this. I think you need to, if there's a class offered now or in the future on best business practices for setting up your business correctly, go to class. I think you need to go to class. I mean, because I firmly know this. None of us knows what all of us knows, and the systems keep changing. Now, something that I didn't talk about because I'm not really well versed in it is AI. Now, I know the AI is now coming in, and everybody is like freaking out because it's like, well, oh my gosh, will AI help me do my business better? Help me do this? I can't say that I can speak to that really well. What I tell you is this. In order to keep growing as a business owner, you have to invest in you. And that means taking classes, that means taking webinars, it means reading books, it means going to conferences, it means, doing, anytime CRP is offering training, you need to come take the classes because they're going to give you the best information so you can make the best decisions for you and your business at that time. Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Great. Well, thank you for that. And what I took away from that was around just the mindset around collecting the cash. There has to be a shift there. And then there's also something that we hear quite often from our business owners is capacity. There is a capacity issue. Sometimes if you're a small business owner, you're wearing the hat of everyone and then some, your HR, your IT, your operations. And so there's also some capacity issues that surface as well. So I appreciate that. Claudia, let me bounce back and see if there's any additional questions that you may have out there.
Oh, yes, we have a
Okay.
question. Dee, can you speak on What to do when the client is ghosting you?
Uh, yes. I'll say it this way. I think I said it in my presentation, but I'll say if a client is ghosting you, number one, if you go back, if you listen to the presentation, I talked about your tracking system. I talked about follow up. I talked about preparing the proper invoice. I talked about doing those things. Um, Let me just make it really clear. There will be times in business that you do get ghosted. You could have done everything correctly. You could have signed the contract, followed follow all the requirements, done all the things. When the client brought to your attention that there was a mistake or something didn't work, you adjusted it. You first of all you apologized, you thanked them for getting the information, you made the adjustment, you fixed it, and it just didn't work. I don't want to see anybody lose their money, but sometimes in life and in business, it just happens. You just get ghosted. I mean, you can follow up and email and call. You can send them to collections. You can take them to small claims court. You can get a collections attorney. They can do all the things, and sometimes they're just not cool people, and they just are not. They don't operate with integrity, and unfortunately, it happens. I mean, the lesson is that number one, you don't want to get ghosted. I mean, if you've done everything you can in terms of staying in good communication, if you ask for questions, if they say, let's say it's a small business and they're saying, okay, we're owed $10,000, we don't have all the money, but you could ask them, okay, if you can't make your payment in full, can you do a partial payment? Can we work out a plan so you can at least pay something, and then we can document that, we can make the adjustment on the contract and say, okay, you don't have the full payment, you can do a partial payment, you can make, and you both agree on it. You can say, all right, we're going to take the partial payment today. You'll make another payment in say 2 weeks or 30 days, and you can work with them to see if they can make some kind of arrangement to pay you. But even if you offer that and they still ghost you, sometimes it bothers me to say it, but sometimes you're gonna have to take the loss, and then do your best to figure out what did you miss when you were vetting this client to work with them. Was there something that popped up that you were like, you had that little and then you're like, I'm gonna take it anyway, but then you're like, dag, that nudge was to say, nah, this is not that, this is not okay. And it's unfortunate, but this happens, and I mean it happens in life. I mean there are people that ghost you, there are businesses that ghost you, there are people that just don't believe in operating in integrity. I just firmly believe that if you are having an issue making a payment, it's just like, for example, if I had if let's do Sonia as an example. If I had a contract with Sonia, and she was supposed to give me, say, business coaching, and we scheduled it for 90 days, and I've got a payment on this month, this month, this month. If we've signed the contract and she said she's going to give me 6 sessions of business coaching, the expectation is that she's going to provide the coaching and I'm going to pay her. But the other expectation is that if I'm running into financial difficulty, that I'm going to be the bigger person to say, Sonia, I know that my first payment was due on such and such a date. I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to call you and say, okay, listen, first of all, I'm sorry that this has come up. Number one. Number two, is there a possibility for us to adjust the payment, the schedule? Is there anything we can do? Because what I don't want to ghost you. I want to make sure I honor the commitment. But I've hit a spot right now. I don't have all the money. I think Sonia, if I did that and I showed her good faith that I was going to make the payment, I think she would make the adjustment for me. Now, if I keep doing it, then she's going to have more questions, because it's like, hey, listen, what's going on? What's going on with you and your money? Like, we need to fix this. But I mean, I say this to say that sometimes you will get ghosted. It's a hard lesson. You're gonna have to learn the lesson. Do your best to protect yourself in the future, and and keep moving forward.
Yeah. Dee, thanks for that. I'm listening to you, and what a great question, because a lot of times, that happens. Businesses, especially small business owners. We've got quite several actually successful business owners, and I'm sure there are lessons learned in that contract negotiation. There are red flags that you may see at the beginning or in the midst of delivering the service.
Hmm.
But the main
Hmm.
piece to that is then you've got to make a business decision because
Yep.
you're trying to keep the lights on, the doors open, and employees paid. And
Exactly.
so I think the heart of what I'm hearing you say is that, learn the lessons from those experiences, but also watch out for those red flags as you're stepping through delivering this product or a service to to that particular client that you may have.
Absolutely.
Claudia, if we have, we may not have any more. I don't think I see any more questions out there. We're going to close. And Dee, I just want to extend a special thank you. Everyone, give her a warm applause for a very thorough presentation. I know when we initially met, this is a conversation. I said, this is not going to be a conversation that, people get excited about. Nobody likes to ask for money. Nobody likes to ask you, tell somebody you owe
Yep.
me money. And so, but it's one of those conversations that needs to be had. And so we certainly appreciate you, Dee, taking some time out for the preparation and also for sharing your story and the
Hmm.
backstory, and also offering some solutions and some resources through your company as you continue. Because when you said to me, you want more businesses to win,
Hmm.
that's where I am as well. We want
Yep.
more businesses to win. At the end of the
Absolutely.
day, there could be some small things that we can help for them to win. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. My
And
pleasure.
I would like to thank everyone for your participation today. We certainly hope you gain valuable insight and information. As a reminder, we are here as a resource. If you're interested in working with Dee, here's the bonus. She will do a 30-minute consult to figure out and have a conversation with you about your set situation, because all the situations and scenarios are different. But if you're interested in working with her specifically to help you to resolve maybe an outstanding issue or issues that you have, send us an email. And Claudia, if you could put this in the chat to hellocrp@crmsdc.org, and just share with us a little background that you may have some outstanding, and like what does that look like? And we're here through the benefit of our capital readiness program to help fund that support for you. So please send us an email. We're constantly evaluating how we can further support our business owners beyond our incubators and accelerators, and we'll make this resource through partnership available to you as a business owner. So again, thank you all so much for being here. Be on the lookout for registration to our upcoming masterclass. We actually are bringing back a sequel to determining your cash flow, featuring one of our strategic partners, Tim Smoot, who is the Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer of Meridian Management Group. He's going to be sharing just a second iteration of the discussion we had with him last year next month. And stay connected with us so that you can continue to learn more and expand your business opportunities. And thank you all for being here. Have a great, great afternoon.